would. Welcome, everybody. This is Undisputed with Clay and Brenton, a NASCAR talk show where pretty much anything we say can be disputed. And I forgot to mute that side of it. There we go. It's live. And we are having a pretty short, quick show for you guys because there's an off week next week. So we're going to recap, do some hots and knots, and we're going to declare a winner of the 164th scale car. So, Clay, we had Michigan this past weekend, which was a failure on Sunday, so they changed it to Monday. And what was the result?
Well, first of all, kudos to NASCAR for running that race at 5 o'clock Eastern time. That was awesome. Every time a race gets rained out on Sunday, I always miss the race because I'm at work because they run it at lunchtime. So when I saw that the race had been postponed to 5, I thought, oh, this is awesome. This is really, really good. So when I got home from work, I definitely turned that thing on, and it was actually a really good race. I guess the size and the speeds of Michigan was a really good display of the restrictor plate at 1.5 mile, 2 mile tracks because it was really some intense racing all evening long. And Jeff Gordon mentioned a couple times that it was a lot like Daytona or Talladega, the super speedway tracks, where in order to make a good pass or an effective pass, you basically had to drag the brake and back up to the car behind you, get a draft going, and slingshot by the car in front of you.
Yeah.
So, and personally, that's one of my favorite things about Daytona and Talladega is that drafting slingshot move that really makes the racing a lot more intense. There was one pass about half, 2/3 of the way through the race where I don't remember who had taken the lead from Joey Logano, but Joey Logano and Kyle Larson teamed up and they went sailing off into turn 1 together, and they just right by the leader. It was like they were sitting still. So I really enjoyed that part of the race, but unfortunately, Joey Logano seemed to have a far more superior car to everybody else, which unfortunately kind of ruined the race because he was really the only car that could maintain the lead, and nobody really had any good competition for him.
Sure.
So, kudos to Team Penske for putting it together on Friday, getting the pole, and really dominating the race on Monday. But, Joey Logano was definitely the hottest driver in class of the field for Michigan. But one person I was really disappointed in was Kyle Larson, finished 14th. He was present throughout the day and seemed strong in the early stages of the race, but once stage 2 came and went, it's like Kyle Larson did too. He just couldn't run with the leaders anymore. And really in the last 20 to 30 laps, he faded terribly and ended up finishing 14th. So I don't know what they've got to do to get that car better because he shows that he has the talent to win there. He's done it before, and he was doing it early in the race, but the car just falls apart in the latter stages of the race. So I feel bad for him. I'm sure it's disappointing to come that close every week and just, not even finish in the top 5, but, way outside the top 10. So, still on the cold not list, but hopefully they'll figure something out soon because he showed a lot of strength at Charlotte in the All-Star race, and I think they need to go back and revisit that setup and tap into some of that energy.
Yeah, I was going to say that is really what he needs to get into is figuring out the recipe that they did for the All-Star race. But I think unfortunately it's a lingering effect with Kyle Larson that he's a short track racer and a short stage racer. I mean, like if these were not 3 stages, if these were only 2 stages, he'd probably be winning a lot more. Or if these races were like half the length or 3/4 of the length that they are currently, he might actually be doing a little better. I do not think his dirt track experience has translated into a cup car. At least not the way that everybody kind of hoped it would. He's a great driver. He won, I believe he won some race just literally before, like the day before on Saturday.
Yeah, the World
And
Outlaw race.
Yeah. So I mean, clearly he can drive. I mean, like that's never been a question. It's just more of, does he have the driving capability for these cars at this level? Even with good equipment, I mean, his equipment's running up top. You kind of start to wonder if the crew is kind of getting like, well, we've done all we can. Now you have to do your part. Right. Because that's what I've heard a lot of because of this package. You know, there's been talk about, you know, all the drivers are complaining, fans are sort of complaining. You and I, we've never really complained. I mean, it hasn't been that horrible from our opinions, as we've discussed throughout the show. So seeing drivers kind of complain, and Kevin Harvick being like, you know, it's my job, I'm just doing my job. You know, he doesn't have opinions, he doesn't share or express them necessarily. It kind of makes you think like, well, yeah, he's doing his job. So clearly he's saying if he had better equipment based on the package, he could do better. Right. Larson doesn't seem to be doing that. Larson seems to just be doing the very best. Like, he has good equipment, he just can't use it. So right. It's hard to look at all of that and try to analyze it from all those different angles.
Yeah, you made a good point about Larson. You know, one thing that just came into my mind is who finished second this weekend?
It was Truex, wasn't it? Or Kurt? Hold on. Yeah, it's Kurt.
Why was Kurt Busch so good and almost won the race? And Kyle Larson couldn't? You know, is this a Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. scenario again, where one car is really good and one car is not? I don't know, because Kurt hasn't really been outstanding this far either. But it's kind of a mystery to me when you look at a team. Look at Joey Logano. Nobody could touch him. Brad Keselowski, while fast, really just wasn't a threat for the win on Monday. How and Brian Blaney definitely wasn't. So why can three cars that roll out of the same shop have such totally different outcomes? I understand they're going to be they're going to vary to some degree, but how can one car be so unstoppable and the other two be meh? And you see that week in and week out, because a few weeks ago Joey Logano was nowhere to be found, and nobody could get by Brad Keselowski.
Yep.
I just don't understand it. I guess a lot of it comes down to teams, setup, crew chief. They're all different. I get that, but it's really interesting to me to see how three cars that can come out of the same shop perform so different every week.
It is really fascinating, especially like you said. It's we haven't really seen any sort of dominance from any one particular team in a very long time. I mean, people would argue that Kyle Busch was and Kevin Harvick were last year, and they were. I mean, no doubt they won 12 races just amongst those two teams. Right. But it was still two teams tossing it back and forth. That's kind of like the whole Richard Petty and Carol Yarborough kind of thing. Like that was kind of like that type of thing from back in the day. And now this season, I mean, I would love to say that there's a clear, obvious person who's pretty dominant, but there's not. I mean, Kyle Busch is doing well. He's very consistent, and he's won 4 times. But Truex has won 2. Logano has won 2. Keselowski's won 2 or 3. So it's like everybody's pretty level. I mean, and not one car from any one stable is dominating for a long periods of time. It tends to switch, and so it really makes you look at all of that and be like, how is team dynamic and politics and all that's wrapping its way into the sport?
Right.
So.
Truex has been a silent force this year already. I think he's actually won 3.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what he probably has.
I think it was Richmond, Dover, and Charlotte. Which
yeah. Yep.
I know there's another one that's won at least 3 this year, but that's impressive.
It's very impressive. Yeah. And so it's like you look at all of it and it just does. It makes you wonder. So, but that's kind of goes into who was hot and who was not this week. I mean, all these different dynamics. Who do you have on your hot and not list, Clay?
Well, going back to earlier on my hot list, definitely was Joey Logano. Just across the field, nobody could touch him.
Yeah.
And then not definitely was Kyle Larson. Just again, we know he's good. He's there in the early stages of the race, but just falls apart and fades at the end of the day, which close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yep. And I literally was gonna. I was thinking about both those two. Hot is definitely Logano and Larson. But for my picks, I went a little more obscure. For my not hot is actually very obvious because he hasn't really been at all. It's still Jimmy Johnson. Like, he was 15th. He finished worse than Larson. I mean, come on. So
at one point, I was watching the race with my dad, and he said, "Jimmy who? What's running 15th?" And it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's just almost sad, really. You see a guy run with such, dominance one year, and then the next.
Yeah, and it's shaping up right now to be 2. So I mean, this is
really
not good. And then I like to sometimes spotlight the fun obscure drivers. Last week I had Eric Jones, and he didn't do well this week. But my hot list this week is a 2. I got Daniel Suarez, and I got Ryan Newman. Both cracked the top 10. Suarez, I think, was in the top 5, I think. So congrats to them. They get the hot list for me this week. That's impressive. So
yes, it is.
But
what's even more impressive, Brenton, is that we have a car to give away.
We do have a car to give away. Yes, we do. It's pretty exciting. We're going to have 2 people who entered. We had Monaco McLaren and we had Shade Tree HW. So Monaco has Brad Keselowski as his favorite driver. Good stuff. As Brad did awesome. Was it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? I know he won recently. Kansas. Won in Kansas.
Pretty much awesome every week, even though.
Yeah, I was gonna say he shows up. And then Shade Tree HW is Kyle Busch. So he's on my bandwagon. He's part of the Candyman team. So what we're gonna do is, since there's only 2, which again, hey, good luck to these 2. What we're gonna do is we're gonna flip a coin. So we got heads is gonna be Monaco McLaren. Tails is going to be Shade Tree HW. So I'm going to flip this. I'll do it right here live. And then, that hit the ceiling. And I didn't look. Picked it up, flipped. Heads. Monaco McLaren. You have won. So we will be shipping you a Brad Keselowski 1/64th scale car. So congrats. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. I can't believe my coin hit the ceiling. I flung that a lot harder than I thought I was going to. I was going to do all the whole catch and flip, and I promised, I didn't look at it. But holy crap, I got a lot of speed out of the pit road on that one. Holy crap! So,
very good.
Yep. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Congratulations, Monaco McLaren. We'll be in contact with you. And I think we have your contact information. So we will get in touch with you, let you know all the details. And until the next episode, have a great week.